into the first of 3 Erangels today. Plane path going down from Milta Power up towards Georgia Pole, up towards Zaki in the northwest side. So we're going to have a pretty clean plane path to start things off. Nothing too dramatic. You can grab vehicles and get pretty much anywhere you want at this stage. A lot of teams out fairly early, actually. Maybe some people heading over to Novo. Milta Power potentially also a drop spot here, but there is quite a few teams on this east side.
Yeah, a lot of teams are dropping out indeed. We'll see where they end up rotating. I don't expect hot drops here. We saw in Sanhok some scraps, some fights coming out for sure, being the size of the map. But Erangel, so much loot to be had, so much at play here. Just keeping my eye out, seeing if there is any committed hot drops, and I don't think so. And you mentioned it, this plane path is very fair for all of the teams. A lot of rotations, the vehicles that they can pick up to get to their loot location. And it really comes down to the first circle. Is it going to be a very static one or a dynamic one? Maybe like straight onto military base, hard to the northwest side? We'll see very shortly.
Are going to try and fly all the way over the water on the south side for Inco. Playing the circle, not going to be kind to the military drops this time around. Heads up a little bit northwest, but still got a lot of that mainland inside. The river split down the middle, as always is. It's going to be a little bit of a tribulation for a lot of these teams moving forwards, but the circle will have to decide at some point. Or then again, maybe not. We saw it. We had the craziest circles over in the European Championship. If you didn't see that, then check some of those circles out. We finished on the central island at least once in that river, so sometimes it just doesn't make a decision, as we saw with Painan.
Yeah, that river just kept staying in play, and it could happen in this one as well. We'll see in Circle 2 if that river will be in play. But for now, I would say definitely favors south of that river more than the north side. And I think we'll see more teams pretty much set up on that south side. And no hot drops. Everyone's pretty much dropped where they want. All the teams are looking good for loot. That congestion on the southeast side might come into play, though, depending on how the circle shifts.
I think Inco, with the number of parachutes that they should have seen, they drop over to Novo. More than likely, they're just going to want to head over to that west bridge instead of trying to take the crossing from that east bridge. With the number of teams that will be on that side, as you say, that congestion will not be super inviting for them. That western side may be a little bit more of a tempting prospect in their mind. And given the fact that both of the Brazilian teams had a little bit of a flat falling over on that first map, they're going to want to just put some points up, keep themselves in the running early on, because as you can see right at the top of the tables, you got Nongshim Red Force, 21 points off their first match.
Yeah, huge game for Nongshim Red Force, and I like that you brought it up. I was actually just about to ask you, how do you feel about the Brazilians? You know, we had a lot of high expectations coming in for them coming into this week, and with that first Sanhok map, what do you think went wrong, or was it just the zones and they couldn't do much about it?
It was a very tricky set of shifts. As we know, it centered up right onto Painan. I think Inco was the team that I was more focused on than Intense Game in that match. They were constantly being corralled by 7th Element, in the end having to try and punch through Nick the Galaxy, and that was just a hurdle too far with that third-party off-angle. Speaking of the off-angle there, Morph able to find Dokuma pretty cleanly here for next Ruya. That is going to be real tricky. This is on the southeast side, near that Milta area between there and Milta Power. And they're just going to be able to pick up a point. No contest.
Yeah, what a spray down. Red Dot from long range prone. Got him on the last bullet right before he can make it to cover. And oh man, that one player getting caught out there from Nexruya. Not sure what he was doing that far out. The rest of his team was in Milta, maybe separating off for a little more loot, but separated too far into Morph's territory. And that will be the first casualty coming into the second match of the day. Nexruya, though, did get a decent game on game number 1. 9 points on Sanhok. Definitely something to be happy about. But starting off, Erangel with 3 might end up hurting them a lot more.
It's not ideal, not a great way to start it off, especially with Nexruya wanting to try and convert off their 9-point performance. Still, plenty of potential in this roster coming through as the winners of the European Championship playing technically as the points qualifier from the European region, with S2G getting that direct invite. They came second place on the Turkey points tables, and they were able to win the European Championship. Definitely a fearsome team. We're playing on with 3. Pretty rough stuff. The other Brazilian team that we've been keeping our eye on, or will be keeping our eye on in this map, because we didn't manage to get to see too much of them in the previous. We've got Intense Game trying to move in on the north side. It looks like they're going to try and cut north of the river and play on that northern side. Go for one of these bridge crossings should the need arise, but the first circle still in effect, still has a lot of north side in.
I'm seeing a potential bridge camp setup from Duxon. I know they just got there on that southwest side. They're mostly looking like they're split looting, not camping the bridge. But if another minute passes or so and no real movement comes out of them, they might be bridge camping Inco on that southwestern side of military base. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Hyper, in a very nice position. This is, I know we're only on Circle 1, and Erangel Circle 1, I mean, you could be in the greatest of positions, and Circle 2 is just completely thrown out of the window. But this position right here, if I had to pick best spot Circle 1, this would be it. Controls the north side, controls an easy passing into the south side as well. And if the Circle starts shifting towards in Hyper spot, I mean, we've seen so many huge PMGC games where a team holding that spot comes out with a lot of points. So could happen that way. We'll have to find out in quite a few more circles, though.
Yeah, difficult compound to crash, but it is possible. It has been done before. I think from the north side, a little bit better prospects than trying to just roll across the river. It's very, very tricky stuff, but we'll see if the circle ends up favoring N-Hyper. Ganina Power might actually challenge this position very, very early. Moving from North George, Ganina Power looking to shimmy their way down the bank of the river. Looks like they're going to divert into the shooting range hills. Try and play a little bit more high ground there. A couple of rowdy neighbors, though, will be less than pleased with that, I'm sure. But teams starting to make their way up towards that central open area, the headshot hills, I like to call them, north of Pachinki, to the east of Ruins, to the west of School and Rosso. Yeah,
there's so many hills there. A lot of strong positions, a lot of strong defilates as well to play around. And if any team's going to crash that in the Hyper compound, it's going to be Intense Game, actually. Intense Game getting extremely close. And game 1, they went out very early, but we saw the style they went out in. They straight up just took the fight with STE, crashed straight on in. So if they're going to keep that aggressive energy up, it might be looking like an in-Hyper fight that will be following soon. And Hyper splitting up a little bit, looking at the mini-map, doing a bit of a split. 2 on the north side of the river, 2 on the south side of the river. Duxon is leaving that bridge on the southwest, so there will be no bridge camp. And luckily for Inco, they're still on military base, as you can see down there on the far south. They're going to have to make their rotation in. Next circle about to pop out here. Where is it going to go?
Have to wait and see just a little bit. But that southwestern side now starting to heat up. A lot of players diverting their way around. It still keeps a lot of that northern shore in here, which is great news for N-Hyper.
Great news indeed, but I feel like they got to group up a little bit here. There's 2 on the Ruins Hilltop. That strong position. There's no way they're keeping a 2-2. Yeah, N-Hyper is going to group up. They're going to center right up, give up the northern side, which is a good call because a lot of the playable terrain is on the south side. And you can see right here, Nongshim Red Forest in a spectacular position. Once again, this team really on top of their rotations. And Hyper, you can see them going on that top of Ruins. And Mount Everest getting slightly contested here between FaZe and 628.
Yeah, on the western side of this circle, it still is in action. So definitely a valuable position for the time being. FaZe wanted to hold it down. Onzen under threat as Jin crests that ridgeline with the Bison in hand, able to rattle off the right shots there. Ventora's trying to hold face with the DBS, but he eats too much damage for his liking, goes for the flush instead of the challenge, and now it's all up to the backline coming on through from FaZe. Mela needs to stand up for the roster in a 1 versus 2, I believe, on this position, versus Sunan, versus 33Z as well. The nade forwards, and Mela brought very, very low. Looking to move in with that auto shotgun. 33Z with the UMP close range. Wants to get the challenge spot to Helmet. Goes for the spray and the healer's through for Mela. And he's able to cut one down. Sunan launching the nade to the back line. And the spray is good. He takes FaZe out and STE will stay alive on the top of Everest, but only as 3.
Yeah. That's a great fight, though, for 6-8, losing only one member for 4 points. Could have been a little bit cleaner, but I'm sure they're okay with that in a strong position as well. Luckily for them, no one third party. That would have been a disastrous occurrence as, just down to the last player. And here we're back onto Nongshim Red Force, dead center. So many teams surrounding here. In Hyper, holding a 2-2. That's not a terrible one. It can get exploited, but seeing how other teams are positioned around them, it's almost like a buffer zone for them. So In Hyper should be sitting quite comfortable now.
They just looking to control the areas around them. That high ground, they'll want to try and keep those sight lines available, but it is a risk. It is a risk at this stage. Enigma Galaxy playing really, really well, slowly marching in from that southwest side over on Sandhawk. Looks like they're going to get a little bit more in the thick of it right now, as they are much closer to the central areas of the circle. Some decent compounds under their control. A lot of cover that they've got. The south side, though, under threat. Tucson maybe looking to poke their noses in.
We're about to head into the next circle. Will this river be kept in play? I'm hoping it just shifts down hard to the south, and we're going to see a lot of potential into wins. As it does give me exactly that intense game. It's going to come in hot now. There is no real open spots for intense game to come into. I do expect to crash. Inko on the southwest should be getting into some scrap potentially now with Duxen, and we do have Morph and Udo Alliance on the northeast having to make their way in as well.
Galaxy up good right now in the center of this circle. Inko looking to beat the shot on them from STE as they try and push their way in, hoping for a little bit more success. Getting to the compound that they've got a good start, but they're right on the... They're going to need a little bit further. There is that compound down to the east side of Everest, a really solid spot if you can get there, but it's getting there that's the tricky part.
Yeah, it was occupied by Enigma Galaxy, but very smartly of them, they're going to give that up as Mount Everest, a huge weak point for them. So they're grouping as 4 at the 2 square compounds. That position is open now for STE or anyone else to take if they can find their way in.
Inko goading themselves for what is to come. Wanting to put some numbers up on the board here. Morph looking to cross this river behind Udo Alliance now. They send their first 2 through. Yoro and Rocky leading the charge. Initiating that maneuver. Looks like they're going to try and divert quite far out.
Oh.
We're still in stage 3, so you can survive quite well in the blue, but what's this? Canadian Power rocking up on Inko. Squash with the challenge. Agori goes down first. Now Becca with the shots, with the spray. The DPS is there as well. To try and put the final nail in the coffin, and Inko are getting their dome rattle once again. They are giving us what they get with 2 knocks sent back to Canadian Power, but they are losing players they won't be happy with. In through the window, but Vitar too quick for that. Nenobete needs to get rest here if Inko want a chance to move forward, and Canadian Power needs to be dealt with swiftly. Got to find the shot with Becca, but that is disastrous to lose so much. And there's a third party, STC,
Yep.
STE descent from on high.
Yeah, all the commotion. STE is third party. Inko, I'm surprised they managed to keep 3 up. Konina Power got the opening knock and went straight in. Inko really holding their own right there as else rotations coming in. Teams losing players left and right on these rotations. Here's one of those deflates that I was mentioning early on Headshot Hills. They will get into zone just barely as Morph takes Hale. Hale's getting cut down. Teams are still in the blue on the eastern side. As more teams are going to have their way in, more points will be given to the whichever teams could hold things zone.
Spray down around the side there. Tiger looking to stay alive against Morph, but the DPS is good for the first. There's a couple more Morph players waiting in the wings. We're in stage 3 into stage 4, which means you can still get these reses, Zute. He'll be able to pick up his teammate, but getting through from here is still a very order. Similar situation Morph. Boho is going to get that res pickup as well.
I don't think the teammates are going to go for it. The blue zone is starting to chunk right there. If anything, they're going to confirm the point. They get the point. Tiger is still up. That nade not doing enough damage. He has meds, and there is the finish. Morph will finish that fight up to 6 elimination points. Lost 2. That's not terrible. The circle has shifted all the way to the west side into the open fields. Third western shift. Inko is still like in zone at that compound. That's how big of a western shift it was.
We're right on the edge before. How to go? The decisions that they need to make now are pretty crucial. There's some compounds on the south side as well, nearer to Gatka, that could provide sanctuary for east. It looks like next Ruya going to be they'll take that position up. Meanwhile, Enigma Galaxy, they've been chilling here for a while. They're a little bit closer to the edge now. This north side going to start to come to a head. This intense game right up and in Hyper's face.
Low toss molly coming out from GK first. A nice connection does take for a lot of burn damage. Him out into open. He gets one, though. Gets knocked right back. So 1-for-1 shot. The util come first. Finally does go down. Koi, he's going to have to do a double knock at the very least. He goes for one. Tries to get the second. Gets knocked. And Hyper down to just one. But this area open sightlines to the high ground. And they worry about that as well.
Inko in the meantime. It starts to move forwards towards Ducksand's west position that they regrouped on towards. And Hyper with Shifan looking to put in the performance to the roster strong lead from the front and a lovely challenge over the top of the ridgeline. Shifan keeps it together and he's looking for the reses as well. Cielo not close enough to res. Diego most likely bleeding out here. And Hyper, are they going to get all four of themselves back up to 8? May have other ideas. Yellow.
Oh, that looks good.
Is it on target? Is he going to find the shots? It just bubbles short, but it gets a lot.
Oh! It took down all the players that were not rezzed, and the one that was rezzed gets re-knocks Yellow with the nades, ending chances of Hyper to get that full reset. And right on cue, a third party once again by STE. They're looking everywhere for these third parties. STE could be sitting comfortably in zone at a strong compound, but they want the points. I like the aggression, but can he get the finish? That looks scary, and he does almost go down. I think zone. Well, that is a huge loss for STE.
That is really unfortunate. You can't be using 3 slugs there from the DBS. You need to be hitting that a little bit earlier. 33Z far too exposed. She found once more. Okay, Koi gets knocked in the meantime. Soon still out there, but she finds just sending it. He's straight on into 7th element though, and I don't think he's going to be able to escape this one. Just has that hillside to stay in cover. He's right on the edge.
Shifan doing a great job right now for Hyper. Shifan actually did not get to play during the league stage or the Americas final, so he's coming in here a little bit rusty, in my opinion, but he's doing a great job. Clutched that 1v1, got the res off, and found another point. Circle shifts once again. Hard shift to the northeast is, oh man, I think they just got taken out. Enigma Galaxy, that compound, they're still just chilling right there.
They have been there for a long, long time. I mean, that compound, it's been their sanctuary, and they get that shift again. Good news, certainly. Longshim Red, full time, having a little bit tougher of a time with it against NB Esports. Said why over the top, gets a good spray with the Tommy gun, finds his second knock, but is put. They can go for the goes pretty long and right on target as well. Why brought almost to the bleed out fully. Another nade might just do it, but it goes a little bit long. However, it's not you just can't get back into position as Freak rolls up into this fight. NB are getting cut to pieces. They leave their compound sanctuary.
Beautiful.
And they move on out for a third party, cleaning out their eastern flank.
Beautifully. I feel like a few years back, see teams be able to recognize, just because you have the zone, just because you have a safe compound does not have to sit in it. Nowadays, this is what I like. Teams leaving the safety compounds to go for these third parties. Enigma Galaxy recognizes it immediately with all the fire and all the commotion. Enigma Galaxy putting a lot of pressure, pretty much cleaning out the eastern side. Does get knocked though, looks like from distance. But look at all the smokes. It's already down, covering their backsides very well.
That's what I like to call a 4-dimensional play, right? It now isn't the safest spot for you, but you're playing phone and the zone after that, where you don't have that pressure from inside. That allows so much more to go for Ducksand with another challenge now. They were pushed off, and they were leapfrogged by it as well. This time Nasa looking maybe like they're just a little bit too much for Ducksand to handle. 2 players go down. He's going to fall in retribution. Biddy on the high ground, wants to put a nade. And you've got Junie as well, all the way split from the rest of the to deal with by the looks of things. It's going to be a tough time for Duxan to try and pull this one through. QX low, bleeding out. His teammate going to be feeding that forwards as the challenge comes through. One player left for Nasa to move on forwards. Then it doesn't quite connect. Sails right past the ear, but that one's going to do a little bit more. So that's going to sting.
Ooh.
And Nasa eliminated.
Just in time to get the revive too on their third player. Nacer goes out. Beautiful defense out of Duxan. And Junie from around, just confidence, supportive from the high ground, not needing to come close. It did get very dicey. Look at this from Nigma Galaxy. They're able to look at every which direction that they can because that eastern pressure completely relieved. There is Sporta still alive, but there used to be 7 to 8 players on their east side, and Nigma Galaxy cleaned out a lot of them. They didn't get the confirmation points themselves, but the point is they relieve that pressure. Now they have free reign on the south side onto Nexuria.
I'll tell you who has been getting the confirmation. 2-8. They've been elimination so far, Zute. They've been really dominant from that high ground. They have been cut down to 2 players now, though, so they'll want to get a little bit more value extracted for placement points, stay alive a little bit longer, and this will be a really solid result coming through for the Chinese team. 6-8 on that northwestern side with the hard shift that we see. If they can regroup on that compound, very likely they can survive a lot longer.
Yeah, it is so scary. There are 2 players doing, and they're still playing very split up, controlling each zone on their own. Of course, you know, given the positional power, that is exactly what they should do, even if they're down to 2. Sporta, don't know what he can do here, and you can see Nigma Galaxy rolling around here. They know there's still a straggler somewhere around here, but the Bushwookie, it's good. Sporta will get that point confirmation. Nigma Galaxy, I thought they knew, but Freak out there on his own will go.
That is real tough. To lose a player like that, I mean, it's just a little bit not what we expected from Nigma Galaxy based on what they just did, right? It's unfortunate they didn't have their wits about them. You just got to check those bushes sometimes, man, or way reveal themselves, because you know they're going to have to move. Below there as well, there's a high price to pay for that information.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge mistake. Nigma Galaxy is such a veteran team. They knew that third party got really chaotic, really messy. You always want to make sure if there's like a team that's completely eliminated on that side or if there's stragglers. And that's a tough lesson to be had right now in the PMGC. And it's huge because with 4 players in Nigma Galaxy's position on the east side, they could very well win the match. But now with 3, it does cut down their chances of that happening by quite a lot.
It will be a lot harder. Inco have been making some pretty solid moves on the western side. We asked where Brazil were. Right now they got 5 eliminations. They're in a pretty prime location with the circle likely to shift away from 6-8. Maybe even not having to worry about that, as looks like you got Duxan taking on that fight, playing as 3 for Duxan to play on that western side. But I like Inco's position here. They're a lot further down the hill. They're on that low ground position. But I feel like they've got a lot of control over this fight as long as they don't get spotted from across the way.
Yeah, Inco with a beautiful rotation to that spot too. They cut ahead of Nasser and I believe it was Duxan, right? And they just moved right ahead. That's not a very, you know, favorable spot to be in, but the little dips, the hay bales does provide just enough cover for them to survive. Nigma Galaxy turning their eyes back down to Nexuria. Nexuria not catching a break whatsoever. Constantly being shot at by the Nigma Galaxy team.
Bombarded there. We saw Nigma Galaxy get their own back out to the eastern side. They did find the Lone Ranger, but it's too little too late. They could have just waited for that originally. They would have had the same elimination and still 1 more player, but that's just not how the cookie crumbled in this circumstance. The next circle just about to pop, and it does land southwest right on top of Inco.
Wow. I feel like Duxan has just enough of the zone where they don't have to take shots at Inco, but for now they will. And they do get 1 knock. That res is not going to come out. That player behind the tree does need to survive because there is very low chances of anyone getting resed on the Inco side if you get knocked now.
Heavy smoke cover needed. QX, I mean, being suppressed a little bit by Becker's position. He's probably more wary of it now. Nenebete hesitant to go for Vitali to get that res for the time being. Enigma Galaxy rocking right on up to next Ruya. Not a pause to be seen. A nade in response, but that's not going to do much when you're already dead from beyond the grave. Not much of an impact to be had. Becca spotted. And this is Duxan opening up the bidding over to Becca. That's what was keeping their position together. And now it's just the res needed to come through from Nenebete. Can he keep his team together? Can that duo now down the hill for Inco see Brazil to a higher placing here than 4th?
Duxan getting aggressive here and try and go for that confirmation onto Becker. Duxan, they're impressing me quite a bit. Hopefully they don't overstep too much as that player does almost get knocked, but they're really trying to take things into control here and get full coverage of this zone.
This is where Enigma Galaxy needed all 4 of their players. They could establish that line of fire way more effectively. Take down Inco, roll up to Duxan from the southeast side, but as it stands now, they want to try and extract a third-party situation from this circle, from this scenario. They're in a great position to do so as well. They have led the charge, in fact. Ralph moving forwards. Duxan eats a bullet or 2 from Nenebete. There's a nade in response over to Vitali. QX on the floor will be able to get that spray down, with the rest of the team not looking so healthy right now.
Enigma Galaxy just biding their time right now. Teams are going down left and right. Enigma Galaxy still stay alive with 3. It comes down to 7th Element and Enigma Galaxy and the likes of Duxan down to 2. Junie will get confirmed here. And I was just going to say, the manpower advantage Enigma Galaxy, but they lose a big one. Ralph in the front lines does get knocked. Gets the information, though, of where these players are. And Coops maybe can land a nade. That is quite a far distance throw. Almost.
The second to follow it up goes a little bit down the hill. A third nade. Everything's bouncing. It's taking damage. It's forcing him out of cover. There's another one to go for. And Coops, he just sat through that. That was a really ballsy play coming through. Be able to hold behind that tree. Somehow doesn't get tagged up by that nade. 3 more still. And Ralph gets flushed away. Enigma Galaxy not in the circle, but then again, nobody else is either. That's what you need. Coops finally hits the mark.
Coops threw at least 5 nades that way. He's still got 2 more to play with. Coops with 4 eliminations, however. So definitely want to hand him that util because he's making work of it. Now it's down to a 2v1 circle, favoring more the side of Duxan, and they've got trees to play with. Enigma Galaxy not in the zone, and I think they will have to cross over a little bit into the open. Coops goes for a nade, will not find the last player of 7th Element.
24 OP, crawling his way, elbows in the dirt, wanting survival, wanting to live this one out, but will be denied that opportunity. Now 2 versus 2. Duxan versus Enigma Galaxy. We've had this lobby in a chokehold for a while, and Lord, he gets into an open position, but
nice
Coops
trade.
has the response. So important for Coops to be able to find that. It was all over if he didn't. Takes a little bit of damage, but it's both ways, and both of them stop immediately to heal.
The 1v1. I didn't think we'd see it so early into the tournament this week, but we will have a 1v1 wide open crossing for both players. Coops smartly has a wherewithal to confirm the point while in safety. Every point matters here, so he will take the patience to do that. But Blue Zone is closing in, John. Who's going to win this 1v1?
Coops right now has 2 first aids. QX doesn't have any. These trades do go the way of Coops if he's able to just get 1 or 2 tags on, but he steps out wide. He's hard peeking the challenge. He's daring QX to step for it, and he's getting the winning shots in through as well. QX is winning out this trade for the time being, but can there be an answer? Coops eats 1 more, swaps out to the Bison. So low. QX hiding behind the tree. Coops, can he find cover? Can he make it to this next tree? If he can get this first aid off, he has a massive advantage. But QX cuts him down just in the nick of time, and it will go their way. What a way to close it down. A deserving celebration coming through as Duxan find the chicken dinner they were denied over in Painan.
Wow. That last stretch, that was like a mirage in the desert where you see that pool of water, right? It's right there within reach for Coops. Just a couple of steps, and that baited him enough